Hi, I'm Chris of Wilson Wildlife Sculpture and Wood Carving. This is my YouTube page video, and I am going to help you not make mistakes. So these are some wood ducks that I've made. I'm going to show lots of examples over my 40+ year career and help you not make the same mistakes that I did starting out. So I started carving when I was 10 years old, and really didn't have a lot of reference material in the 1980s. But I had great instructors. I went to an art school, a magnet school for the arts, and both my teacher and another mentor of mine were professional wildlife artists. So I was kind of guided the right way starting out, and that really helps when you have proper instruction. Of course, nowadays you have YouTube, all kinds of reference material on the internet, and classes you can take, and seminars, and I actually did that starting out, taking some classes, but we didn't have internet and stuff like that back in the 80s. I started with carving ducks, and I really loved the colors of ducks, and decoy carving was very popular, but I didn't really know what ducks looked like. I was just a kid. And gradually I took some seminars, I went to wood carving shows, and that all really helped. I also bought a lot of books on how to carve, and those are still helpful today. Pattern books, I'm making patterns. But one of the things that I've learned over the years is to make my own patterns, make my work original, because you can copy the mistakes of others, like this piece here. I consider this mistake bird. And I'm not sure which pattern I used, but the bird just looks funny. And I prefer taking my own photographs and trying to get the anatomy right and the original design. And so that I learned that over the years of trial and error. I've got tons of birds that are mistakes, and I'm going to show you lots of my mistakes this video, because most people just show you their very best work. I've done this for so many years that I've made tons of mistakes. In fact, I've got lots of pieces that are just scrap. This is a redhead duck, and a good piece of wood, and the bill, I carved it pretty well, good. You have to get the right dimensions to make it look like a duck. But I carved it from the front. It just did not have the crown and the look I wanted of a redhead. And so I added clay back here to show myself what it looks like. And so clay models is kind of how I started. I worked with Larry Barth. And back in the 80s, I took a week-long seminar through the Ward Foundation. And he showed me how to make clay models of birds and make them have character, come to life. And so that helped. You can even see the texturing techniques I was experimenting with, and it was just way too rough. I didn't like any of those. So this is just a practice bird, a throwaway bird, but I have it to remind myself that I make mistakes, just like this bird. Here's a pintail I did. Now, when I was 14, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, from Ohio, and gosh, this even has some Bondo on it. So that's talking about fixing mistakes. I don't do anything like that anymore. But I moved to Atlanta, and I convinced my parents to build an aviary in their backyard so I could study birds like these wood ducks and teal and pintail and redheads, diving ducks, dabbling ducks, all kinds of ducks. I had to get a federal migratory license and permit to keep my birds in my county. And it was great reference material. I was able to get really close to the birds. I built a culvert in the ground, so I was kind of sitting. I built 2 ponds for the ducks, and I could sit down at eye level and watch these birds just like I am now. I'm watching my wood ducks here sitting in this chair, and wood ducks are a little bit skittish in the aviary, but they were the king and queen of the birds. I had about 14 birds. Actually, I had 20 birds at one point. About a dozen different species, including mandarin ducks, some birds from South America like ring teal. And they were beautiful. They were my pets. I had them for about 10 years. And they really informed my art. So I was able to study the birds and do a much better job than this. And this isn't bad. Wood ducks are just hard to do. They're hard to paint. I took classes starting out and learning how to paint with acrylics, and that's one way I paint. But now I use acrylics and oils. For a while I just used oils, but I like the combination of both. I went to art school and I learned about color and sculpture, and that's helped me a lot in my career as well. And just, you know, trial and error, going to shows, competitions, learning from my peers. I've studied with some of the best artists in the country. So that's all helped me a lot. Also, it helps do it full time. In 1994, after I graduated, I won Best in Species in category and was competing against Pat Godden and Jet Brunet for Best in Show. And I realized, gosh, I can do this full time because orders were coming in. And I carved mainly ducks back then. But I was starting to branch out and doing songbirds and interpretive birds. I won best in the open professional interpretive division. I think it was 98. So I did that a number of years. And I went to grad school so that I could teach art and learn more conceptual sculpture. I still carve birds, a lot of songbirds and different things. But, you know, I was developing. And so I'm going to share, going back to my mistakes, I'm going to share a little bit more about how you can learn from me. That's just a little bit about my background. Even though I've studied fine art and sculpture, wood carving is my love. I love the subtractive process, carving from one block of wood. I will carve the heads separately, like this piece, although I think this was carved from one piece too. But talk about mistakes. Look at this piece of wood. It has wormholes in it. It's got spalting on it. This is basswood, and it's from the south. So I moved from the north, where basswood or from the linden tree was really good quality wood, to south in Georgia, and I mainly carved in basswood because I carved with hand tools. That's primarily what I had, and you can see all my hand tool marks here. But southern basswood, it is harder to carve than northern basswood. It also tends to fuzz up. I haven't even sanded this bird, but it's got, you know, too many like wormholes in here, so that's a no-no for the fine detail that I'm doing here. This I actually didn't find detail as much on this wood duck, but that's a mistake. Choose the best quality wood. And when I moved to the south, I found about Tupelo wood, and how easy that was to carve. I was only 14 when I moved here, but I found a fellow who had Tupelo trees on his property, and a hurricane brought a lot of them down. And I was able to trade a wood duck for 2 truckloads of Tupelo wood, and all that came down from the storm. So I thought that was a great deal. And back then people were saying, oh, you got ripped off your work, you can get thousands of dollars for, you know, Tupelo wood anyone can cut down. But I was happy with the trade because I'm still using that wood today. And also I'm not cutting trees. My work is very sustainable. Here's an example of a Tupelo wood. Okay, a harder Tupelo piece. I did get some of the pieces from the upper portions of the tree. You want to get the wood, the softer versions, from the lighter portion of the tree. Tupelo grows like a cypress tree from the bottom, and it tapers up. So you want tree from the bowl of the tree, that swell of the trunk. This is an example of another mistake, actually. I was commissioned by a dentist to carve a giant tooth, and a woodpacker carving it out of a log, and it was hard to do. I couldn't get I got the woodpecker looking good, but this is a more recent commission. But the tooth, I had a really hard time. So he sent me a model, but I have numerous examples of bad teeth, and it's hard to look at your teeth when you're carving. But I'm just kidding. So anyway, it's about your reference material. That's one of the most important things, is to always have the best reference material that you can get. I had the live ducks in my yard, and that really saved a lot of time because I mean, it was work keeping the birds, but I could just go out to the aviary and bring out a piece, you know, and then just, you know, study the bird and, you know, and draw on it what I want to take away. But you don't have to have an aviary. You can look at today. There's so much pictures online. It's so much easier than when I started in the 80s. And you know, in this video, and I mean my channel here on Wilson Wildlife Woodcarving, I hope I can save you a lot of time with tips. I show lots of tools and techniques, and I also have students. I teach private lessons via Zoom, and I can really enhance you in that respect, giving hour lessons. I've taught many lessons before with classes at the John C. Campbell Folk School, different seminars all throughout the Southeast. I was even a professor of art for 7 years, teaching sculpture, three-dimensional design, portfolio, how to be a professional artist, and how to sell your work. And I did that for 7 years at the second largest school in Georgia, that's Kennesaw State University. And I had great students. I had some great peers and colleagues, but there was just an itch for me to carve full-time and create my work. Galleries were commissioning me to do work. This is before YouTube and Instagram and all that, you know, Facebook, you know, marketing. But I learned all that myself, and I learned how to be a full-time artist, how to get into the top places to sell your work, how to meet collectors, and I continue this practice today, and I can share that with you as well. I teach a lot of people and through my art coaching program. But back to mistakes, you know, the wood duck is a hard bird to paint, a very hard bird to mix colors. Fortunately, you can find guides to break down how much paint, you know, to use, like ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and you know, just like texturing techniques, you can learn these fine wood burning, so you can get really good detail. But it's time consuming to do this. You know, I think watching YouTube videos is good. I think personal instruction is even better, one-on-one, hands-on. But Zoom, I have a camera right over me, and my student can see me, my work up close, and I can see his work. And it's much more personal, and I can give private instruction. And to me, that elevates your career much, much better. And that's one of the lessons, good lessons I've learned. I learned to contact the best artists that, you know, I contacted Jeff Bernay, I contacted Greg Woodard, I contacted many, many artists. I studied with Alan Sykes, Jamie Welsh, Larry Barth, Pat Godden. Actually, I didn't study with Godden, but I studied his reference material and had his pattern books, and they were very, very good. He was very good with ducks, as is a number of other artists. And then I gradually got into more songbirds and birds of prey. I took other seminars, like Larry Barth, and that really helped me with clay models and anatomy of birds. I even took animal seminars with Jim Wilsford. I did animal carving starting in the 90s. This is a messed up fox, but I've carved very realistic fox, and I've sold them all. But I try to carve from one piece. This is just, it came out disproportionate, and you know, it's challenging to carve from one piece. So I learned to make clay models, and in grad school and undergrad school, we'd call them maquettes. And I've done, you know, maquettes, small models, and I've won commissions and made them over 7 feet tall, and sold my work for, you know, over $30,000, several pieces. So this all can be taught, and I've been fortunate to work full-time with my work. Here's another mess up bird, mess up animal. Okay, it's more interpretive because the cat just did not come out well. But I carved lots of cats, a part of my endangered species series. This is basswood. And I actually believe it's cottonwood. And it carves pretty well. If you can't get basswood or Tupelo, cottonwood carves, as the bark carves well. Here's another example of a bird emerging from an egg. This is a nice mess up here. And it was very difficult to carve a little hatchling coming out of the bird, but I had a number of, it was hard to get the proportions of the egg, but look at the finished result. This is one best in show for me. I've done several of these eggs hatching series, and I've sold many of them. In fact, I'm working on a proposal to make it monumental. So it really, you learn from your mistakes, and the biggest mistake I had when I carved in the 90s was I had an accident with a tool, and I cut my hand. It's actually slit my wrist. It was an aggressive grinder. I would try to carve always with the biggest tools possible, and the Lancelot afforded me to carve full time. This is some King Arthur's tools. I'll list a description in my, the tool with the code. You can get these tools in my description. But you got to be careful using tools, and I was in a hurry, even though I wore leather gloves. The Lancelot went right through my glove and cut me there. But I couldn't carve full time without that tool in the 90s. That tool now enabled me to carve huge hawks and owls and large works out of wood. But I let my guard down, and I learned that, actually the guard on the angle grinder is very, very important. I didn't quite have the right orientation of it, and it slipped, and I came from 2 millimeters from cutting doing permanent damage to a nerve. So that's very serious. I learned to slow down, and I have many videos showing proper safety, using glasses and mask. I always protect myself, and I'm very careful how I carve. I recommend a vise to use when using angle grinders, because that's a two-handed machine. Now I'll carve with flexible shaft grinders. I've learned my mistakes over the years with that, not to bend the shaft too much, because the shaft can break. However, I also work a lot with die grinders and pneumatic tools, as well as many other power tools outside. You can watch my videos, and I give tool reviews on my page. And if you like any of the tools, reach out to me. Also, I list a lot of times in the descriptions how you can purchase the tools for a discounted amount, because I've been carving for 40 years. I'm sponsored by companies now, and I've only contacted the best companies, and the tools companies like NSK Grinders, NSK America. Their micro grinders are the best. I've used many different brands, and I can rely on them, and I demonstrate that, and I highly recommend these tools, and that's how I achieve the really, really fine detail. However, you can also achieve the detail with hand tools. I use flex cut tools, other gouges and chisels, rasps, sanders. You can see that in numerous videos on my channel. I appreciate you watching those and commenting. So anyway, these tools can really help you accelerate to the next level. So my advice, so you don't make the same mistakes that I made here, my advice is to invest in the proper tools and the best tools that you can achieve. And invest in your safety too. Slow down, always draw before you carve, wear a Kevlar glove or leather glove on your non-carving hand, so if you slip, like when you're carving with a knife or even a power tool like a aggressive cudsaw, you won't make that mistake in your hand. Yeah, you can make mistakes in the wood, and sometimes you can fix them, sometimes you can't, but safety is very important. I learned, there's a video out here on my channel about a rhino I did that won Best in Show, and it was a very, very hard wood, natural finish piece. But I was carving quickly and without eye protection. And actually, I may have worn some eye protection, but it was not complete. It wasn't a face shield. And this wood was very splintery. It was real hard oak and old, very old oak. And a splinter actually went in my eye. And so that mistake, I learned from then on, I'm gonna wear, be very, very careful of my eyes and wear either a face shield or glasses, protective glasses, not just regular glasses, so that when I'm carving, I am, always protecting my hand, my eyes. I even protect my ears, so your ear protection, even when I carve outside or anything that's loud, and especially my lungs. Okay, a lot of woods like, this basswood that's spalted, anything that's spalted, or dust in general, you can be allergic to it, or it's not healthy to breathe that dust when power carving. This was done a lot of hand tools for that reason. But I do a lot of power carving, which you can see in my videos, and I'm wearing a mask and a bandana over that. I even wear the cartilage. If I airbrush, which I do sometimes, the undercoats, I'll use the double cartridge airbrush. I have painting demonstrations, texturing demonstrations. It's very important, even how you brace your wrist and how you're working. For long periods of time, working full time, you can make the mistake of causing problems to your hand and your nerves. And you got to stretch your hand out. You got to be careful holding it in one position too long. These grinders and power tools, especially angle grinders, die grinders, they can cause a lot of vibration. So I wear anti-vibration gloves, okay, and those are really good. I wear protections, so I'm not going to cut myself. I'm just very, very cautious about my health, and so that's my greatest advice, is to just be careful of the materials you use. Always respect your tools. Okay, respect your tools and the hazards of chemicals, which I don't like to use. I don't use much. I do use some acrylic and oil paint, which have some metals in them, but I'm very, very careful, and try to be very sustainable in my work and not cut trees down. So that's about all the examples I have to show you, and I'll show you some close-ups of the wood ducks, and so you can see the difference, the mistakes. Advice to you is not to copy so many patterns of other people's carvings, because you can copy their mistakes. Okay, so try to make them original. Try to look at photographs from the live bird or whatever subject you're making. Know your subject matter. Okay, be passionate about it and really try to study your subject matter, so you'll do a better job in the long run, and you will avoid a lot of mistakes that I've made over the years. And also try to get instruction with the best instructors available. In-person instruction is the best. Of course, nowadays through technology and Zoom, you can learn so much, and you're welcome to contact me if you're interested in lessons. I'll be glad to help you. So I'll show you a few more examples of these birds here, and you can also look at lots of examples on my page. And if you found value in this video, thanks for hitting that subscribe button, and have a great day. Well, here's some close-ups of the picture of the wood ducks here. Here's the mistake bird. Yeah, I just didn't like the head on the bird. It was too big. I'm trying to balance the light so you can see it. Maculation side pocket's okay, but it's very stiff. Everything's stiff about it, and the colors are not bad. I can paint. I like painting. That's probably my most favorite thing about the sculpting process and carving. But this is all carved from one piece, even that primary coming out. I consider this a pinnacle of my duck carving career, because it has so much detail, and I don't carve as many ducks these days, but I still love them. I love the colors, and look at the detail all that wood burning. And I can teach this kind of detail. I can teach anatomy, how to paint. So thanks a lot for watching this video, and hope you've learned something and try to avoid making the mistakes that I have. Have a great day. Thanks.